I want to talk about hiring a podcast editor. I will be a little bit biased in this video. I am a podcast producer. I edit dialogues, I mix them, I write music for podcasts, I produce podcasts. So if I said, nah, you don't need any help, then essentially I'll be jobless. But I will try to be a little nuanced and take you through different scenarios, and then we can have a look if you would need any help or hire any help in those situations. Let's start with an assumption that you do want to have a podcast. You want to have a show, you want to have something to your name. You can either host it or not, but let's talk that you do want to host it as well. Then you've got to think, what is that you like to do? What is that you are good at? And what is that you're willing to learn? Podcasting requires a few different skills. You've got to research your podcast. You've got to write it, record, edit, mix, produce, release. All of these things take time and skill. It's important to think about it because when talking about audio production specifically, you've got to ask yourself, is that something that you're willing to learn, spend time learning? If you could then spend that time doing something else that you enjoy, like researching or writing or maybe recording. Not saying that you don't want to do audio, but just thinking in these terms is gonna help. And then you might say to yourself, well, yeah, I find audio editing boring. I don't want to do it, but I haven't got any money. In that case, let's talk through a few hypothetical scenarios. Scenario number one, no budget. So you want to have a podcast, you want it to sound all right, but you haven't got any money. Can it be done? The answer is yes, it can be done. If it's just you and everything's on your head, but you don't have any money, but you don't want to learn audio, or you don't know much about audio, you can use these script/text/audio editing software like Descript. And essentially what Descript allows you is it transcribes your podcast, your audio into text, and then you edit the text. By doing so, it edits the audio for you. Is it perfect? No. Will it sound like it was professionally produced? No. Will it sound alright? Yeah, quite possibly it will sound alright. It means that for no budget, you can do it yourself, and at least you can get going. At least you can start and then take it from there. Second scenario is you want a little bit better audio, but you still have no budget or very little budget. In that case, you would have to leave the script on site and then learn audio sequencer, DAW. I'm not even saying like you've got to get Pro Tools and start learning that, but something a little bit more involved than the script. It could be GarageBand, but if you're looking at something like Logic or Adobe Audition, these programs come with a range of tools that will get you started and help you to make, a good sounding podcast. You will have to learn about EQ, compression, mixing, cleanups, and that will take time. It depends if you want to spend that time, but we're talking that you don't have other options. So I would say in this scenario, move on to a more involved tools. Number three is you've got no money, but you do want to have audio and you don't want to do it yourself. Now in that case, you've got to bring some help. And because you haven't got any money, you have to bring some free help. The best way to do so is to partner with someone. You want to partner, you want to share the equity, the podcast, in case it blows up or you start bringing in some income, you're gonna share. Or maybe you've got a family member or someone who wants to get into media, into audio, and they're willing to help you to run this project so they get a bit of experience and you get that help with editing, with production. Some people might take offense to it, like, oh no, you shouldn't work for free, but I am not talking here about a company, a professional company, taking advantage of interns and people who want to get into the industry. Not at all. We're talking about you wanting to start a fun project, maybe it's a hobby, maybe it grows into something else, and then involve people who want to help with that. I've done a lot of projects with no money or next to nothing, just because they were fun and I wanted to do them. And, it still worked out okay, and I'm glad I did them. Before we move forward, I think this is the end of DIY route. Can it be done? Yes. Can you do it all yourself? Possibly. Is it sustainable? I don't know. It all depends on your situation and how big the podcast grows, what you want to do with it. If you want to have a professionally produced show, this will require time and skill and someone who knows their craft. And even if I want to start my own podcast, I would hire someone to edit it for me, because I'd rather focus on writing it and then doing it than spending time editing out the mistakes and, you know, putting it all together. Yeah, I could maybe, you know, write music for it and do the final mix, but all these sort of stuff that takes time and it's boring, give someone else to do. But of course that requires cash. So let's now talk about what if you do have a budget, what you can do with it. I understand there are two options. One is low budget and one is big budget. And I don't want to spend time talking about big budgets because essentially, well, you have big budget, you can hire the whole crew, production team or whatever. There's not much to it. Low budgets, on the other hand, are interesting because you've got to be creative. You've got to see how you can approach it. One is you hire someone, pay them just a little bit to, you know, keep them coming back, but they have a stake in your podcast with a promise that if it blows up, when it blows up, they have a percentage of the wealth, you know, of the gold that will come in. Two will be you save from, you know, other monies as well, and then pay someone a proper wage. So you essentially hiring someone, paying him or her good monies, and they help you to do your podcast. It is of course risky because you don't know if it's gonna work or not. Let's take an example of this YouTube channel. It's small, it doesn't make me any money, but it still requires work. It requires research, writing, recording, editing, post, releasing, so we can compare it to podcasting, right? And we know that time equals money, or rather work equals money. Could I do it myself? Yes, I've actually done video editing when I left my dialogue editing job, so I know how to work Adobe Premiere. But can I do it myself? This is a hard no. I haven't got capacity. This YouTube channel doesn't make me any money. I actually invest money into it. My job that brings me money is in audio, in podcast. So I spend majority of time there. So what did I do in that situation? I went with little money, but I want to have nice videos. And that meant hiring my brothers to help me out on the channel. My youngest brother takes the raw videos and then cuts out the mistakes. So he preps the timeline. I pay him a little bit for doing that. And then my other brother, who's a photographer but want to get into videography and video editing, takes it and then produces the videos for me and then releases them. My youngest brother, he is learning some skills, you know, he's still at school, he's earning a little bit of cash on the side, which is nice for him. And my other brother, you know, he's also learning video editing, how to prep it, how to produce them. And because he's traveling the world, he's living in a so low cost, well, lower cost than UK countries, I can pay him family rates and he's still happy to help me out, at least for now, with a promise that if and when the channel gets larger and maybe brings a little bit of income, then we split it between us. The point is, even if I wanted to do so, I couldn't do that and produce that channel by myself. Not now, when my actual work in podcasts demands my time 95% of the day, and you know, I have bills to pay, I've got a mortgage and so on, so I can't really focus on a project like this one who doesn't make me anything, just takes in the monies. Maybe when I was younger and I was just living at home or something, but that's the sort of thinking that I've applied to that, and I do apply to other scenarios. All in all, I don't think we've answered the questions, did we? You know, should you hire someone? Is it worth it? It depends. I think that's the answer. It depends on your situation, it depends on your budget, it depends what you want to get out of it. It depends what you want to do with that project, you know? Do you want to just be a bit of fun that you do on your own and something to do after hours, or you have bigger plans for it? That's unfortunately the questions that you've got to ask and answer yourself.